Welcome to the Takeout Effect, brought to you by Business Takeout. I'm your host. My name is Banki. Business Takeout, we are a nonprofit. We are a social enterprise that provides business education to Black entrepreneurs. We are located in Canada, and that who is who we are. And Business Takeout, the Takeout Effect brings real conversation in business. Today's guest is an activist, very passionate in what she does, and she was able to use her passion and turn it into a business. I would like to really announce to everyone, Rachel, and I apologize, Xyminis? Sorry,
Xyminis.
sorry. We just spoke about it before we went live. I apologize. Hi, Rachel. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for being here. We're going to really talk about your journey and also the business part of it as well. You started off as you went to school for a paralegal.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that all started. Is that something you wanted to do from the beginning?
I wouldn't say it's what I wanted to do. Ideally, what had started was I had gotten, I was featured in a CBC news documentary when it came to high school graduates and what their sort of next steps were in maneuvering sort of the journey when it came to post-secondary. And within that, I received a call from a local private college who wanted to extend their services to me. And in that particular time, I had actually completed my high school co-op at a legal aid office. So I did have a little bit of background just sort of like helping out within the office itself, but I never really wanted to pursue anything legal. However, when this college reached out to me, I thought it would just be a good opportunity to sort of see what they had to offer. And based on the various courses they had, paralegal being one of them, and me having a background already within, a little bit of a background working within the legal offices already, I decided to pursue it. And from there, it just kind of unraveled.
Okay. Amazing. So I know you as an activist. You are, you stand for, injustice against the criminal justice system. Do you mind telling us, just taking us on a journey of how the year? Sorry, there was it kind of froze. I'm not sure if it's on my end or your end.
Sorry, could you just repeat the question? I didn't hear the question when it froze.
No problem. So let us know about how you became an activist and pretty much what do you stand for?
Yeah, so after I'd gone through school for paralegal, I had worked a little bit within the landlord and tenant side, Ontario Works, Ontario Disability. It was more from a legal aid perspective, and I had found it to be pretty stressful, just taking on a lot of my clients' personal situations. And so I had taken a step back from the legal field altogether. I went to school for criminology and criminal justice. I never really did anything after that. But I've always been one to be outspoken when it comes to injustices. And that comes from myself being a street involved youth. I've had my own experiences with the justice system. I've seen a lot of my friends and family have experiences with the justice system. So I've always been one to be outspoken, but I never knew where my calling was particularly. And I had started following Keep Six just as a community member, staying up to date with what was going on with various grassroots organizations. And they had put out an ask for volunteers. And when they put the ask out for volunteers, I reached out and I had said, like, I don't know how I can help. I did go to school for paralegal. I did go to school for criminology and criminal justice, but I don't know what capacity I can help out with. And Richard called me and he was like, yeah, like we need you on board. We can start off with this, start off with that. And from there, it kind of evolved. Because then I started to find my calling in terms of like really seeing what was really going on the inside, because now I was taking calls from people on the inside. I personally have loved ones that are in on the inside, but also hearing it from others around and starting to build a network of individuals who've had similar experiences. It drove me to really start to speak out a lot more and to realize now I had a network of individuals that I could reach out to. And I was also meeting the individuals that have the ability to make those changes that were needed as well. And that's sort of how it started. And from there, it's just unraveled.
Yes, it definitely has. What have you learned in terms of skill set, business skill set for being a part of the Keep Six? Just before we even go there, a lot of people don't know what keep6.org is because we have an international audience. A lot of the Toronto area would know about Keep Six. Do you mind explaining what Keep Six is and what they do?
Yeah, so Keep Six, we are a nonprofit organization within Toronto working specifically with marginalized, criminalized individuals. So we advocate and support individuals who've been impacted by the Canadian criminal justice system, whether that is during, so currently being incarcerated, post-incarceration, or even individuals before who either have matters before the court or are on remand. Really just providing them with as much support as needed, and then breaking the stigmas associated with being criminalized, and working to bridge the gaps and break those systemic barriers for individuals when they are post-release.
So a lot of things that people may not have known about in terms of the criminal justice system is the support of the family members that have loved ones inside, and also COVID, and how does that impact the criminal justice system for those that are in there? Are they being treated fairly? What's your take on that?
So I guess I'm a little bit biased in that I'm one to speak out, as I'm a police and prison abolitionist is what I am. So I'm a bit biased in terms of what that looks like. But in reality, COVID has only made things worse. So the prison system prior to COVID already had a lot of flaws. It wasn't, in my opinion, one of rehabilitation. Come COVID, things just made matters worse. One reason being predominantly that with COVID now there's increased lockdowns. With increased lockdowns, that means there's increased mental health concerns because individuals are not having contact with their families. They're not having contact with the other individuals on range. They're now being forced to be locked in their cells for longer periods of time. For others, there's a lack of programming. With lack of programming, a lot of individuals are coming up for parole shortly. And if they're not able to meet their program requirements, then they're not eligible for parole. So now individuals are being held back when, and under normal circumstances, they would have been able to go home. And then in terms of the obvious effect is with the prison population, one, there's a serious concern when it comes to overpopulation within the prison system, as it is already. And anyone who has loved ones within the system knows that when one person gets sick, everybody gets sick. There's close quarters, there's poor ventilation, there's overpopulation, and there's just a huge mix of individuals in very close quarters. So with COVID, there was a huge concern with regards to there being outbreaks within the prison system. They already have poor access to healthcare. They're limited in terms of PPE and cleaning supplies. And now we had COVID outbreaks in multiple institutions. And with there being such a high capacity of inmates in there, it was very hard for the prison system to be able to properly provide the necessary equipment that was needed, as well as provide the necessary quarantine arrangements and things along those lines. So it, for lack of a better words, it became a shit show because there really was very little that they were able to do.
I can just imagine. The whole COVID thing has just been chaotic, just from the beginning, because no one really knew what to do. But to have a proper structure in place for for inmates, it's just really something better needs to be done. There need to be better solutions, definitely. So you've learned a lot about the injustice in the criminal justice system. You're an advocate for it. You mentioned abolishment, which in my I guess terminology, it's more of you believe that prisoners should be rehabilitated than be put in a cell.
For sure, yeah,
definitely. And you joined Keep Six to help prisoners, right? With the Keep Six organization, with your role there, what business skills have you learned while you were there?
So one big business skill that I'm still currently learning is delegation.
Yes.
To realize that I can't do everything myself. And that came with team building and having a team orientation. Because as I started to build my own team and have my own individuals to work and assist, I needed to understand to let go of the reins. So make sure they were properly trained prior to, but then let go of the reins, delegate the tasks to them, and trust that they would be able to complete tasks by designated deadlines, not to micromanage. That was something that I had to learn because I myself am a perfectionist. And so I was finding myself constantly nitpicking at little things. So in terms of being a great leader, I had to understand how do I sort of let go of those reins a little bit.
Nice.
With that came time management, with multiple meetings, a very, very busy schedule, multiple deadlines. I needed to have better time management skills. And then I needed to really learn and understand the numbers side of the business when it comes to, especially when it comes to meeting with corporations, meeting with government officials. As much as you can speak about a program, you've got to be able to provide the numbers.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to provide and show them what are your KPIs, what are your targets. And I had to learn how to do that, how to basically speak the language of business when it comes to these individuals, when it comes to meeting funders. So it's been a learning curve for me, but I'm consistently learning, and I've been able to be blessed with a lot of mentors and individuals along the way who've been able to assist and guide me and provide their advice. But that's continuing to be my biggest challenge right now.
Okay. And you've leveraged your. There is an echo. Is your other laptop still on?
No.
Okay, I'm not sure. Maybe it's on my end. It's kind of weird. Okay, but we'll go with it. So you've got your business skills. You've learned a lot from working with Keep Six, and then you formed your own business, which you're still, from what I gather, is still in the process of ironing it out, finalizing it. But it's there. It exists. The world knows about it. Rays of Agape.
Agape. Yes. So Rays of Agape, how did that start? So I found that with a lot of individuals that are supporting loved ones on the inside, predominantly female, be it either mothers, sisters, girlfriends, wives, partners, oftentimes as women, because we are emotional creatures, because we are nurturers, we often get so wrapped up into supporting that loved one that we don't take time to support ourselves.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even just have to be for someone inside. Even within our own relationships on the outside, we get so wrapped up in making sure we're taking care of everyone else. We don't take care of ourselves. We don't have time for self-care. We don't take time just for our own peace of mind. So Rays of Agape was something that I came up with. Rays being, for me, my name being Ray, and then Agape being one of the purest forms of love, or God's love, that unconditional love. And so that's where I came up with the name. And it really was to be able to provide a safe space for women, but also anyone in general who is supporting loved ones, to be able to come forward to speak on their current emotions, their feelings. Because I've often had people reach out to me and say, I'm lost, I don't know where to go, I don't know where to turn to. I have feelings of abandonment, I have anxiety, all kinds of various feelings, but they can't reach out to their friends or family because they can't relate, or they can't reach out to their friends because there's a stigma associated with, oh, your partner's in jail, or oh, this person's in jail. And no one knows how to have that conversation, because usually when you say, I'm supporting someone incarcerated, the next question they ask is, well, what did they do? And for some, they may have done something that's pretty serious, and it's not necessarily something that we want to speak on.
Yeah.
So I won't necessarily feel comfortable coming to Banki, who I may not know on that level, to be like, I have a brother that's inside. If I know the first question that's probably going to come next is, well, what did he do? Like, well, how much time does he have? I'm not comfortable coming to you with that, as opposed to, how are you? How are you feeling? What are your emotions right now? So this was able to be that space. I just recently kind of put it online. I haven't really put much of it online. A lot of it now is more just word of mouth and a lot of things going on in the background. So I am supporting a lot of people in the background. I just haven't had a lot of time to put everything out in the forefront for everyone to see. And I think that's part of that time management, where I need to be able to dedicate times to particular areas within my business. But that was basically how Rays of Agape was formed.
Okay. So would you see yourself as a mentor for others that are younger than you, that may have had similar life experiences like you have?
I don't know if I would necessarily consider myself a mentor, because I have not really spoken on my own personal experiences. I do make a lot of subliminal comments to them. I more so speak on the facts in terms of what we're seeing currently and the experiences of others, and sort of exposing what's currently going on. But I haven't really spoke on my own personal experience. And I think that's part of, for me, allowing myself to be vulnerable to my audience. That's still something that I'm working on. So I can't necessarily say that I would see myself as a mentor. If we want to talk about someone who's really being an activist and going out there and being a leader within the community, then yes. But as someone who, when I look at a mentor, it's someone who can share their own experiences and help people along the way. I haven't opened myself up yet to do that. So I don't know if mentorship would be the right word.
Got it. So in terms of social media, right? I remember seeing a podcast, you spoke on your personal branding. Well, you didn't call it that, but I'm calling it that. But really it's more of how you express on social media, being authentically and organically you, and being in positions where you're speaking to city councilors, you're speaking to corporations. How do you think it's, in your opinion, how important do you think to be who you are, regardless of what judgment may come of it?
I think the only thing you have at the end of the day is yourself. So it's very important to be authentic, to be your true self. And that was something I struggled with for so long, because my personal page was private. And it wasn't private because I didn't want well, I did not want certain people to see it, but it was more so because I have so many various titles or various things that I dabble in. So not only am I an activist or an advocate, I'm also a dancer, I'm also a model. And I do a lot of when it comes to dance, a lot of my dance is more sensual dance. So it's very easy for certain individuals when I started to sit at the table with city officials and government officials, my biggest concern was credibility in the standpoint of in the colonial society that we're in, there's sort of a conservative way that everyone's expected to be or act. And if anyone were to go on my page, not to say that there's anything explicit on my page, but if there's anything suggestive on my page or doesn't look professional, then my credibility may be called into question because I don't fit the image of what I'm supposed to fit or what I'm supposed to look like as someone coming to the table before officials and sitting at the table with the board of directors of various organizations and institutions. And it took me a very long time to really come to terms with not hiding that side of me, because all of my followers and the people that I have on my page, they get to see both sides, but everyone else only got to see one side. And so when it came to my branding, I decided to just open it up, be real, stay authentic. Those who like it. Those who don't. At the end of the day, I speak on prison and police abolition. So I'm already not necessarily in their good books as it is, because I'm speaking out on a lot of things that many are not in support of. But I just felt it was necessary for me to stay authentic. I couldn't sort of fit their image. I needed to be me.
And I agree with you. Actually, into, oh my gosh, this echo. I don't know where it's from, but I think it's authentic. Sorry, rewind. I think the direction that the world is going into is that we want more authentic, people, authentic everything, especially on social media. A lot of people are doing the social media where it's more business. When you go to their social media, it's business stuff. And I just started to change it around where I'm doing like singing.
Oh, those TikToks.
Yes. But it just shows that not everything is just, you need a balance. Not everything is all work. And you need to show who you are in that process. Because when someone agrees to work with you, they are agreeing to work with you because of who you are, not so much of what you're trying to portray to the world, but more of what they see of you, right? So I definitely like what you're doing on social media. So I'm just seeing if there's any other questions. Nonprofit as a business, right? If you know anyone that wants to start a nonprofit, what would you say to them?
First off, you need to get the right supports. I mean, it's easy to say I'll do it myself, but there's so much along that way of being able to get your nonprofit status, or if you want to go for a charity status, the paperwork side of things, setting up your board of directors, your trustees. Get help, get support. That's the first thing that I would recommend. Professional assistance. There's actually a gentleman, I can't remember his organization right now, Jonathan, but he just started up. He does a lot of grant writing, and he assists with individuals looking to get their nonprofit and charity status. But he predominantly just started up a business where he's working specifically with grassroots organizations, because he noticed that that was an area of opportunity where a lot of organizations just try to do it themselves, and then they get stuck. And then they need to find someone to assist. And they end up having to fork out a ton of money because that person has to kind of fix everything that wasn't done properly in the beginning. So reach out, get that assistance, reach out to other grassroots organizations. There's a lot of individuals that are willing to help. And just ask. Like, I'm thinking of opening this up. What did you do? What were the steps you take? Do you have any assistance? I think, as unfortunate as it is, being in Toronto and we don't share enough. We don't share our resources enough. And as a community, we should be building that community network. So if Banki comes to me and says, I'm starting a nonprofit and this is what I want to do, or I have an idea for an event, this is what I want to do, I'd be more than willing to be like, yeah, let me give you my contacts. Let me share my resources. Tell me what your ideas are. Maybe we can put something together, make it work. I think we need to do more of that community building side of things.
I agree.
Because otherwise, everybody's just left on their own trying to figure it out on their own. We're better together than we are separate.
Definitely. I definitely agree, because the more we share our knowledge, the more we, everyone excel. Knowing when I just started my nonprofit, it was a different world, because I'm so used to doing for-profit. I'm like, board of directors, what?
Yeah.
It's a different world. So I'm glad that you've mentioned that. So what does the future look like? We're about to end the show. So I'm just going to end it up with a final question. Well, 2 questions. Work-life balance. How do you balance it all? Because I see you do a lot.
So it's funny you said that, and I actually wanted to touch on it. I'm a horrible example when it comes to work-life balance. I work, on top of everything I do, I also have a 9 to 5. So working my 9 to 5, advocating, running my own business, staying on Clubhouse till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah.
It was a lot. And I always tend to take a lot of my work home with me, to the point where everyone was telling me, like, you need to slow down. You're going to burn out. And I didn't listen, and I hit that burnout period where I've actually had to take time off and take a step back because I was physically getting sick. So my advice to everybody would be, have a good work-life balance. Take time for self-care. Dedicate a day, if it's a day specifically, an evening specifically, whether it's reading, journaling, going on a walk, dancing. Dance is a really, really big therapy of mine. Having a therapist as well. Take whatever steps are necessary to make sure that you have that self-care routine, because I learned it the hard way. And it's not fun and it's not easy, but it's definitely necessary.
Yeah, burnout is real.
It is.
So what would you say for the future? What are things are you looking to accomplish?
In the future, I've got a couple of projects that I'm working on currently right now. I'm hoping to expand a little bit within Keep 6 to have some programmings that will be going behind the bars. So instead of us just helping and working with people when they come out and sort of just being able to do the odd phone call with those inside, I want to be able to have that opportunity to go inside the jail and sort of start that work while they're inside, preparing them for the outside. So that's a really, really big thing that I'm looking at. I'm really just making an impact in terms of criminal reform, seeing more community supports, because that's something that lacks specifically within the Black community. We already are a marginalized community. We already get the shorter end of the stick, especially when it comes to in the low income communities. So just being able to see how we can reverse those and make a bigger impact, sort of create our own village. That's sort of what I'd like to see. And then I am working on a project where hopefully we'll be able to provide employment to individuals as they're coming out. So strictly looking at employing parolees and those who've been incarcerated to sort of, again, bridge those gaps when it comes to employment. We have a lot of employment partners that we work with, but I wanted to have something that's specifically focused on employing individuals as they were coming out and sort of doing it as a rehabilitation process as it is.
Got it.
So that's something I'm working on as well.
Awesome. Okay. I'm looking to see more of the things that you're doing, and I would like to see what you're doing a year from now. I'm pretty excited to see what you do.
I'm excited too. We'll see what happens.
So if anyone wants to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
So you can contact me on my Instagram, which is I am Rayzy, Rayxy. You can reach out to me on Keep Six's Instagram at keep6org, also on Facebook and Twitter. You can send me an email, rchen@keep6.org. My Instagram, on my personal Instagram, my phone number and email are on there as well. So there's multiple ways you can reach out to me.
Okay. It's been a pleasure having you on today, and thank you for spending time with us. For those who are watching, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And yeah, see you next time. And thank you so much, Ray, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.